Hello, everyone. Today we have a special guest. His name is Tristyn Leos, and he is with TristynTech. Welcome, Tristyn.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me. We've connected on LinkedIn, and we exchanged a few messages back and forth. And I kind of like your leadership style. So that's why you are talking with me today. So, Tristyn, first of all, tell me, what does your company do?
So, I own a dev shop where we build custom software for tech founders, and I also do outsourcing. So, if there's a tech company that already has their own tech team, if they want to hire engineers, but 100,000 to 200,000 as a salary for an American engineer is too much, they can hire my engineers based in the Philippines for 48,000 a year. And my developers, they all speak very good English. They work your time zone, and so it's literally just like hiring a local developer, but for less. They're just like any other remote engineer that you would hire.
Okay, that's very cool. So, Tristyn, I saw on your LinkedIn that it seems like you've had kind of an interesting story starting in the industry. I saw an exchange with your mom. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah, so I did post that. Um, so I grew up in a small town called Midland, Texas. It's a little oil town with 100,000 people. And uh, when I was 21 years old, I moved to Austin, Texas to work in real estate. And real estate didn't work super well. I also sold furniture for a little while, and that didn't work very well. And by the time I turned 24, I didn't actually like go to college. And I started
Mm.
questioning my whole life. I was like, oh man, I should have gone to college. Why didn't I do that? Um, and I was living honestly, like just to be completely frank, I was living on the bad side of town in an apartment with like bed bugs and cockroaches and like rats, and I couldn't do anything about them. And I was starting to get like, fed up. So I luckily I taught myself to code like a little bit when I was 14 years old. And so here in the Austin area, the tech industry is very like large. And so I got into tech at 24 as a self-taught software engineer. I worked for startup companies from 2016 till 2024. I got a lot of experience like seeing how companies start out in the beginning, how they get funding, what they do with the funding, how you lead a team properly. And then I started my own company last year.
Cool. So, how do you lead a team of engineers properly?
So, very good question. Obviously, there are like a number of different management styles. The one that I like personally, I've seen different styles. I feel like when you're leading a team of engineers, the most important thing is to treat them as professionals, as human beings with like their own lives. And the most important thing that you can do, in my opinion, is to create an environment where developers are free to be themselves, they're free to be creative, and you do less micromanagement. If you hire adults that are responsible and can take charge of like the tasks they're working on, then it makes management easy. And also, like the developers, like they feel like they have more stake in the game because you're not. What Steve Jobs said, one of his many quotes was that you hire smart people so they can tell you what to do. You don't hire smart people to tell them what to do because if you tell smart people what to do, you're losing out on like the intelligence that you hired them for in the beginning. So again, it starts with hiring. You hire smart people that are responsible, and then you give them the like the opportunity to be creative and do a good job, and then usually that works out pretty well.
So, what's your approach to failure or roadblocks?
I feel like failure is really just an opportunity to learn because again, whenever I hire an engineer, I give them the freedom to go out and be creative and also the freedom to fail. And if I was behind them every time, like trying to prevent failure and prevent roadblocks, then I would be preventing them from learning. So the way that I look at failure again is like an opportunity to learn. What's his name? Like Edison said something like he tried to build the light bulb and he tried 1,000 different ways to build it and it didn't work. And then 1,001 time he did it, he finally made the light bulb. So and he said something like I didn't fail 1,000 times. I learned 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. And so like I said, failure is really actually super important to learning. If you're not failing, then you're not learning, in my opinion.
And you're not getting out of your comfort zone, right?
Exactly right.
You are sticking to what you know and the tried and true. Exactly. course, it does have an impact sometimes on scope creep, right?
Yeah.
If you go the creative way, the budget may be blown.
Yeah, it does. At the same time, I feel like you almost have to like bake in like the chance that like whenever you're doing like sprint planning and you're planning for something, you kind of have to bake in that there might be some mistakes and some things you haven't calculated fully. And so the way that I look at that also is that if we have a timeline and we don't hit the timeline, it's not the engineer's fault, it's the planner's fault for like, not giving the engineers enough time. And so you're right, it does kind of affect the scope creep, but again, I feel like it's kind of part of the cost of doing business.
Exactly. You just need to build it in and expect that there is going to be some of that if if you want some creativity in the project, because people will come up with ideas and you don't want to take that down, right?
Yeah.
Cool, cool. So, would like in general, people seem to think that it's difficult to lead software engineers. There is this perception in the general public that um, a lot of techies are a bit socially awkward, or that they may not have those social skills. Although I have seen a number of engineers with awesome soft skills and the technical skills as well. Um, what do you think is the biggest challenge for leaders of such teams, and how would you suggest they overcome it? If you can give
I
us
feel
a few of the golden nuggets.
yeah. I feel like a lot of tech leaders haven't actually like, been engineers themselves. Like whenever you're an engineer and you can see like what it's like working for different people, you learn things differently than if you're a product person or you're uh, somebody from outside of tech coming into tech. And what I mean by that is I worked at a company once where somebody was promoted. I won't mention their name, but like they have no tech background and they were promoted to like be CTO and like watch over all the engineers. And they had no tech background. And the way they looked at the engineers is almost like we were batteries, where we have to be working 8 hours a day, constantly. And if something, takes an extra day, then it's because the dev was lazy. And so this person was a taskmaster and they would like really
Mm,
micromanage everybody and like try to get them to work super hard every single day. And honestly, as an engineer, you can't sit there and code for 8 hours a day every single day. You need a little bit of room for like a little bit of breathing room. And so that's why a lot of tech companies they have like ping pong tables and they have like restaurants in their offices, like the Apple campus or the Google campus. And so, in my opinion, a lot of the people that struggle with leading engineers is again they see engineers as almost like unskilled labor. Like we're at McDonald's and you stand here and you make French fries 8 hours a day. That's all you do. That's not how engineering works. You have to leave room for the creativity. And so the biggest mistake people make is that they kind of get in their own way. They feel like they have to micromanage, they have to like keep track of every single task, but really they're making it hard on themselves for no reason. Like the whole trick that makes it really easy to manage is you give these professionals who went to college, they're professionals, you give them a task and let them take ownership. And then you don't have to micromanage and you don't have to like keep track of every single thing. And it makes the management so much simpler because like, again, it actually makes your job so easy. If you're doing it right, it feels like you're doing nothing at all. And so you can basically sit back and let the engineers do their work and the work gets done and the engineers are happier and their morale is high so they can continue to do that like month after month after month. But I've seen it where people come in and again they think of engineers as batteries where they have to work super hard every single day. And what that does is it actually works for the first 4 to 6 weeks. You get a lot of results out of the engineers, and then after about 6 weeks, they start to get burned out. Engineering is a high burnout like industry, and so again, it gives you the false impression of like, oh, I know what I'm doing. All I have to do is like force these people to work harder and harder every single day, and then it works. But then again, after about 6 weeks, it starts to slow down, and then you lose. They start quitting, and then you have to like hire, and there's this whole huge hidden cost to having to like hire and like having a high burnout rate. And so again, the biggest mistake that people make is like they get in their own way. They overcomplicate it. It actually is, to your point, not that hard to lead engineers. You just hire professionals and then let them tell you what to do. Very, very simple. And again, it leaves the
Mm.
engineers happier and the morale is high and they can continue to work and crank out code over the long term. You really want to prioritize the long-term success of the team over short-term like sprints of work.
Absolutely, and they are also more invested, right? You get the buy-in and the ownership of the job and the final product as well. Therefore, you get more creativity. That
Yes.
is an excellent point. I mean, I find the opposite is also true, that frequently companies, and we've discussed that in our LinkedIn exchange, that companies promote someone who has excellent technical skills. And as I like to say, they promote the person or the techie into incompetence because they don't provide any managerial training, and the person may not have the leadership skills to begin with. So both options can happen, and it's unfortunate. In the latter case, it's basically they lose an excellent expert and gain an incompetent manager. So okay, that's great. So um, if I told you that I have a magic wand and I am a fairy godmother and I can fulfill any wish that you might have for your team or for your industry, what would you wish for?
I would wish for the tech recession to end. So like right now, the Google's been doing massive layoffs. They just had more layoffs last week. Facebook's been having huge layoffs. The tech industry is suffering a little bit. Then especially here in Austin, the number of startup companies getting funded each year is down by about 40%. And for the companies that do get funded, the amount of money they're getting is down by another 40%. So like the money has been sucked out of the tech industry. So if you had a wand, I would say, please bring back the tech industry. It's we're struggling over here.
Okay, interesting. How do you feel about AI and how, to what degree can it replace coders?
So that's a really good question. And honestly, like the ideas that people have are all over the place. Some people obviously will say like, "Oh, AI is here. It's a tool. It's not going to replace us." Certain people like Elon Musk and uh, and others say that AI is going to replace everybody. Like there's not going to be any work for anybody left like within the next 10 years, and we're all going to have to go to universal basic income and like have equality. Um, in my opinion, I so the way that AI works is it doesn't think like a human being, like you or I do. The way that a lot of people see AI and like you talk to it and it's responding similar to a human. So we think that it's able to rationalize and think like we do, but it doesn't. The way that AI works is you ask it a question and then it finds the most likely response to your question and starts putting it out there. And so, like I said, it's a subtle difference. But with that, it, some people have noticed when you go to AI and you ask it like a pretty simple math question, it gets it wrong. And if you ask AI like, hey, count from 0 to 30, it can't actually count to 30 because it's not using real reason. It's trying to again like come up with like an automatic answer through like the algorithms that they have set. And so because AI truly is a tool and it really is not like human intelligence, I feel like until we get to artificial general intelligence, like the AI that we have today, I don't think we'll be able to replace humans entirely. Um, at the same time, in the tech industry, used to you would need a team of 8 engineers to build out a product and maintain a product at least. Now you can do the same thing with 8 engineers. You can do the same thing with 2 or 3 of them that are using AI. So AI has made engineers much more effective, and we can move quicker. But I don't think that it's going to like replace everybody like Elon Musk and frankly like Elon Musk and like what's his name Sam the guy, the ChatGPT guy, Sam Altman, they're
Hmm.
invested in the hype around AI. So I think that's why they're saying things that are so grandiose, like AI is going to replace everything. They want people talking about it. But I think they also know that AI is not going to replace anybody, at least not in the next 10 years.
Yeah, well, the creativity definitely is a major challenge for AI, right? So it
Yes.
will do things based on the prompts and based on the structure that you provide. But you still need human beings to kind of wrap it up and put the creativity and the strategy into it. But it can probably shorten the coding time because some simpler tasks it can basically speed up the coding process.
Oh yeah, yeah. AI is very
Yeah.
good at coding, but like I said, to your point, it doesn't replace the human. And I don't think it's going to anytime soon. Because again, like when we get to artificial general intelligence, or we have an AI that rationalizes like a human, then that will be different. But what we're actually building towards is just improving the AI we have now. So we're actually like moving more towards improving the AI we have now and not really towards AGI. So that's why, again, I think that we're not going to have like humans being replaced by AI anytime soon, because we're not even really trying to do that. We're just improving what we have now by adding, more server space and like more data into the models. We're not really moving towards the AGI like
Hmm.
people say we are.
Well, the thing is, I mean, you can train the AI to simulate human thinking, right? Like personally, I've been working on a few projects where we are training and putting subject matter expert knowledge into AI and putting a layer of knowledge base on top of the open AI, for example.
Mhm.
And it seems to be doing quite well, almost scarily so. But the AI is not going to have a compassion, right? It's not going to have empathy, creativity, kind of forward thinking, strategic thinking. That is very difficult to simulate. So we have to cherish that.
We do. Yeah, it's the
Right.
human spark.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you. That's a nice way to put it. Um, Tristyn, you told me you are in your early 30s right now, and your career is taking off. Um, if you could go back, let's say AI develops a time machine. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, would you have a word of wisdom to tell the young Tristyn? What would you tell him?
That's a really fun experimental question. To be honest, I've actually put thought into this, and I don't know if I would say anything because if I took away all the mistakes that I had made, and like if I had changed anything about my history, then I wouldn't be what I am today. And I think I might have mentioned this already. Like I kind of value the mistakes I made because whenever I make a mistake, I end up learning. I learn like a very valuable lesson. And so if I went back in time and told myself, "Oh, don't do this or don't do that," then what would I be today? I certainly wouldn't be where I am. And so again, I feel like we have to like life only makes sense in reverse. Like when you get to where you want to go, you can look back and say, "Oh, like these bad things happened, but now I see why it had to happen that way for me to get to where I am." And like I said, once you like retrospect is nice because when you look at your life in reverse, you can see like, "Oh, that's I understand now." But you have to go through it forward, and so sometimes you don't understand why things have to happen. But yeah, I might not say anything. I guess if I did,
Interesting.
say something, it would have to be non-consequential. What I would try to tell myself is just have fun. Like, don't stress as much as you did, and like enjoy the ride because you can't get that time back. But still, fail. Don't be afraid to fail, make mistakes, but try to enjoy the time a little because, like you said, things make sense in reverse. But going forward, I was really stressed out like a lot and thinking like, oh, like I'm making 200 grand a year in this job. I really don't want to lose it. And it turns out I didn't have to worry about that. So I wasn't even able to enjoy like, making a good amount of money because I was so concerned about losing it. And I wish that's the only thing I regret is I wish I could go back and enjoy like, my life thus far a little bit more. But again, I ended up in a good place. I'm still relatively young. And now, again, because of those mistakes I made, I learned that like don't take things so seriously. Just have fun and like enjoy the ride.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tristan. This has been fun. How can my listeners get in touch with you if they want software development or they need to develop an app? Tell us what's the best way to reach you.
Definitely. My website is Tristyn Tech. I have it up here behind me, and I think my name, I don't know, probably in the bottom left corner. If you go to TristynTech.com, you can sign up for a meeting with me. Or if you find me on LinkedIn, I post pretty actively on LinkedIn. And so follow me on LinkedIn and visit my website. And if anybody wants to talk to me, I'd love to talk to you. So please do reach out.
Awesome. And on LinkedIn, you accept invites from
I do,
strangers?
yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tristan. And I wish you the best of luck in your business.
Thank you so much. It was nice talking with you.
Likewise.
And that's a wrap.
And that's a wrap.